Elon Musk is saying it, Jensen Huang is saying it, 2024 is indeed the year of embodied AI. Let's take a look. Hey y'all, it's Dr. Know-It-All. I know I've been wearing this shirt quite a bit lately, but this is my 2024 is the year of embodied AI shirt. You can get it on my merch store, definitely check it out. I'm wearing it because more and more evidence is accruing that it is the year of embodied AI. The latest is a speech by Jensen Huang, Nvidia's co-founder and CEO, of course, in Taiwan, and Elon Musk responding to that, as well as Jensen giving big props to Elon and Tesla. So I'm going to start with this post from Pierre Ferragu from today as I record this. Worth the 16 minutes, best Jensen keynote ever, touches on everything that matters: roadmap, cadence, scaling, real-world AI, million GPU data center, warning will make you want to buy Nvidia, side note, fun to hear Jensen and Elon views converging, and that is indeed interesting. And then of course you can see down here, Elon responded, the AI robot future is coming fast, and I said 2024 is the year of embodied AI. So I'm obviously not going to play the full 16 minutes, I'm going to play a short section of it. Unfortunately, it's got music. I'm going to see if YouTube is going to allow me to do it without copyright issues. If they don't, I may have to do something like play other music and put captions across the bottom. I apologize if that's the case. I won't know until I try to upload it, so I can't tell you right now. Hopefully it will work, fingers crossed. And then I'm also going to touch on another video clip that Jensen Huang did on Yahoo Finance, where he talked up Elon Musk and Tesla in a really very interesting way. So we'll start about an hour and 42 minutes in, as you can see, and I'm going to play this entire clip and then I'm going to talk about it.
The next wave of AI is physical AI. AI that understands the laws of physics. AI that can work among us. And so they have to understand the world model so that they understand how to interpret the world, how to perceive the world. They have to, of course, have excellent cognitive capabilities so they can understand us, understand what we asked, and perform the tasks. In the future, robotics is a much more pervasive idea. Of course, when I say robotics, there's a humanoid robotics that's usually the representation of that. But that's not at all true. Everything is going to be robotic. All of the factories will be robotic. The factories will orchestrate robots, and those robots will be building products that are robotic. Robots interacting with robots, building products that are robotic. Well, in order for us to do that, we need to make some breakthroughs, and let me show you the video.
Did you know that your personal data is being bought and sold online right now? Yes, behind your back, data brokers are busy passing your data around for profit. And this exposes all of us to potential harassment, doxing, phishing scams, and even devastating identity theft. That's where Delete Me, today's sponsor, comes in. You and I have the right to stay private and protect our personal data. I know I need to protect my online data and privacy rights, but I didn't know where to start. Thank goodness for Delete Me, which takes the work out of protecting your online presence by removing you from hundreds of data brokers all year long. It's totally hands-off, so you don't have to do a thing after you sign up, which is great for me and my busy lifestyle. Delete Me proactively finds sites that have your personal data, like phone numbers, addresses, email address, and so on, and alerts the broker that you wish to have your data removed from their site. And if you have a particular custom removal request, just let Delete Me know and they'll take care of that too. Delete Me sends you a privacy report 7 days after you sign up, letting you know what sites had your data and what has been protected, and Delete Me will monitor sites all year long and repeat the removal process as needed, helping protect you for the whole year. And since Delete Me is a US-based company and does all the work in-house, you can trust their results. I also love how simple Delete Me is to use. You submit your information, experts search for it online, requests are made to nefarious sites to remove your data, and Delete Me sends you a detailed report in 7 days and ongoing throughout the year. And it keeps working all year, protecting you from anyone trying to reacquire your data. Be sure to click my link in the description to get 20% off any consumer data protection plan and start feeling safer today. A big thanks to Delete Me for supporting this channel, and thank you for watching. Be sure to click my link in the description to get 20% off any consumer data protection plan, and now let's get back to it. right, so there's an awful lot in this, but the basics of it is that Nvidia they've got a grand vision. It's really amazing. And Dr. Jim Fan, starting up the Gear Lab at Nvidia, is also doing amazing stuff. And as Pierre says, this does make you tend to want to buy Nvidia stock because their vision is so big, and they not only have that vision, but they have the resources to make it happen. The biggest part of this vision for Nvidia, of course, is that everyone's going to be buying their chips. They'll be buying their chips to do all the training work, which everybody is, and they can't get enough of those things right now. And that makes Nvidia a ridiculous amount of money. And was it 90%? Some ridiculous amount, like 80 or 90% of their profits actually come from AI work now. So they hardly do any work with gaming anymore. That's almost an afterthought, even though that was, obviously what they originally started. So for Nvidia, the whole point is to create this end-to-end system where everybody is going to be using their hardware and their enabling software in order to build their embodied AI, which is not just going to be humanoid robots, but as you can see, there are little like crab robots and dog robots and who knows what other kind of robots. So we're going to see a lot of humanoid robots, of course, in the next year or two, because that's the first form factor. But once people get used to that idea, as Jensen says, everything's going to be roboticized, right? Your refrigerator is going to be a robot with some intelligence to it. And there have already been some attempts to do that, but I'm talking about really intelligent refrigerators, potentially really intelligent washing machines, really intelligent Internet of Things. Whatever electronics we have around will have much more intelligence than they do today. And that's a pretty amazing future. And one of the things that allows this is reinforcement learning, not through human feedback in this case, but through physics. And that's the interesting part and the reason why I have always argued that AGI, or particularly artificially intelligent agents, are going to come from embodied AI. They're going to come from an environment that gives them much more information than just reading text tokens. Now, obviously, LLMs have made strides because, of course, they can look at video now, they can look at images now, they can even listen to sound and things like that. So they're beginning to become embodied in a sense, but true embodiment actually requires a body. And I think Jensen would agree with me, and certainly Jan LeCun agrees with me on this, even though Jan LeCun and Elon have been having quite the spat lately. If you haven't been watching that on X, it's been quite entertaining. I hope the two can patch it up eventually and have a mandate or something like that and get a beer together and patch things up. But anyway, in my opinion and many other people's opinions, embodied AI is the path to truly intelligent agents. And the really cool part about what Nvidia is doing is they're building the Isaac Gym, which is a physics simulator. And the problem with physics simulators in the past always has been that they're only okay at physics simulation. So if you're going to do something simple like driving on a road or something along those lines, and the weather is good and the asphalt has good friction and all that stuff, yeah, you can do simulation that's okay for that. But if you really want to start to get into the weeds about things, like how do you measure something like this? The physics of a piece of cloth like this that has a little bit of silkiness to it and stuff, glass is cleaner, that's very, very complicated. How do you simulate that stuff? I believe, and I have some evidence, that this is actually a neural physics engine. The Isaac Gym is a neural physics engine. They've actually been training the physics simulator from real world data, and they've been giving it to the physics simulator to do simulation, and then it's compared itself to the real world output, the real physics of situations, and it's learned how to mimic the physics better and better and better. This is something that humans have just never been able to do. If you think about programming it heuristically, yeah, you can get okay for relatively simple things, like again, a car driving on an asphalt road that's not wet or anything like that. But if you're trying to get to humanoid robots doing multiple point interactions with cloth or squishy bodies or flexible things or anything like that, or even like this guy and his arm and everything, you have to have a physics simulator that is leaps and bounds above what anything that anybody's programmed before has. And I think that one of the really big secrets that Nvidia has, and it's a wide open secret because you can see Isaac Gym, is that Isaac Gym's physics simulator is way, way, way better than anybody else's. And that allows you to do reinforcement learning through physics in the simulated world, rather than having to have these robots go out and do millions of simulations in reality, which would take a very, very long time and break a lot of robots and cost a huge amount of money. You can throw millions of these things into Isaac Gym. You can run them at multiple times real speed, and you can get all those simulations done before you ever even turn to the real world. And one of the amazing things, we saw this with Digit in the video, is that you can have the physics simulation of Digit pulling something out of the oven and putting it down. And then with zero-shot learning, in other words, no learning in the real world, you can just go straight from the simulation to reality. And that really is the whole holy grail. That's something that means you don't have to expend money to build robots and train robots in the real world. You can do it in simulation. Now, Bernd, the CEO of EVANNEX, when we did an interview with him, when Herbert and I did an interview with him, he said the real world is orders of magnitude more effective than the virtual world in terms of learning things. But I get the feeling that that was before Isaac Gym. I think that Isaac Gym is so good that they're able to do a lot of the training, like 98+% of the training in the virtual world and just the last couple of percent in the real world. And that's going to speed things up drastically. So Nvidia's work is one of the big reasons that I'm very convinced that 2024, and we're almost halfway through it at this point, but 2024 is indeed the year of embodied AI. And we will look back on it in the future in 5 or 10 years and we'll go, yeah, that was the year. Just like 2022, the end of 2022 was the ChatGPT moment. And by the way, if you haven't seen my Tesla's hasn't had its ChatGPT moment yet, definitely check it out up here. But anyway, the end of 2022 into the year 2023 was the year of large language models and the year of disembodied AI. 2024 is very much going to be looked at as the year that embodied AI really came to the fore. All right, and then let's turn to this 2-minute segment from Yahoo Finance where Jensen talks about autonomous driving, and it's really, really interesting.
Jensen, just one more quick last question. I'm glad you talked about the auto business and what you're seeing there. You mentioned that automotive is now the largest vertical, enterprise vertical within data center. You talked about the Tesla business, but what is that all about? Is it self-driving among other automakers too? Are there other functions that automakers are using within data center? Help us understand that a little bit better.
Well, Tesla is far ahead in self-driving cars. But every single car someday will have to have autonomous capability. It's safer, it's more convenient, it's more fun to drive. And in order to do that, it is now very well known, very well understood, that learning from video directly is the most effective way to train these models. We used to train based on images that are labeled. We would say, this is a car, this is a car, this is a sign, this is a road, and we would label that manually. It's incredible. And now we just put video right into the car and let the car figure it out by itself. And this technology is very similar to the technology of large language models, but it requires just an enormous training facility. And the reason for that is because the data rate of video, the amount of data of video is so high. Well, the same approach that's used for learning physics, the physical world, from videos that is used for self-driving cars is essentially the same AI technology used for grounding large language models to understand the world of physics. So technologies that are like Sora, which is just incredible, and other technologies, VO from Google, incredible. The ability to generate video that makes sense, that are conditioned by human prompt, that needs to learn from video. And so the next generation of AIs need to be grounded in physical AI, needs to understand the physical world. And the best way to teach these AIs how the physical world behaves is through video, just watching tons and tons and tons of video. And so the combination of this multimodality training capability is going to really require a lot of computing demand in the years to come.
All right, so you can hear that Jensen is very much behind what Elon Musk and Tesla have decided that they're going to do, which is learning through video. Now, I will put a wrinkle in this because Jensen in his speech that we just heard talks about how doing the reinforcement learning through physical feedback is really crucial. So video is clearly important, but video is not video in the sense that Tesla is training it. Video in the sense that Tesla and of course Jensen, the way he's talking about it, is concerned is 360-degree video combined with an inertial measurement unit, which is telling you about g-forces, telling you about acceleration, deceleration, longitude, latitude, up and down, all of those kinds of things. So it's not just video, it's video plus these other elements, which makes it fairly embodied. And cars are an interesting case in terms of robotics. And let's remember, an autonomous car is indeed going to be an autonomous robot, but the point of an autonomous car is to not really interact with the world, as Scott likes to talk about. It wants to have its wheels touching the ground at all times, doesn't want to slip, and then it just doesn't want to hit anything. So that means its only goal is really to stay away from things. And in that case, video is actually really, really good because you don't need, millimeter precision. You need not even centimeter precision, like 10 centimeter precision, right? As long as you've got this kind of precision in a car, you're fine because you want to stay way further away than 10 centimeters from even a curb as you're parking. So cars can learn from video input very, very well, plus the inertial measurement units. When it comes to embodied robots, and you can see this with Tesla's demonstrations as well, you've got people teleoperating the robots, you've got them learning in physics simulations like Isaac Gym, you've got them figuring things out in a fully immersive three-dimensional world with physics. That is different than a car. A car doesn't interact with the world really, and a robot really, really does interact with the world. Again, picking up something like this is very complicated. There's a lot of interaction that has to happen with that. And so even though Jensen talks about how a car can learn just from video, I think he knows in the background that when you get to a fully autonomous humanoid type robot that has to balance, it has to interact with things by picking them up, things like that, that you have to go beyond video. You have to go to simulation and or teleoperation and or a bunch of trial and error in the real world. So you have to do things like that. Now you can learn from video at first, and I think eventually the bots will become smart enough and they'll have a big enough language that they will be able to watch somebody, right? The same way that you would do that. If someone said, hey, this is how you shoot a basketball, and you watch them and they go like this and they shoot it, right? You're not going to be perfect at it at first, but you get the basic idea. You don't have to have the person put your skin on and actually show you, although that would be pretty wild. But you don't have to do some sort of teleoperation. Eventually the bot's going to be able to look at you and they're going to be able to figure out what you do, like basically put themselves into your place and try to do the activity themselves. But in the near term, they're going to have to do this physics simulation to basically do what we as humans do when we're babies. We learn how the physical world works by, slapping food all over the place and hitting things and dropping things and falling down and figuring it all out. That's what they're going to be doing millions and millions and millions of times because they're not as efficient as we are because they don't have evolution behind them. But through all of that virtual simulation and all of that trial and error that they can do without really hurting anything, except, their loss function, and that's good because that means they'll learn. By doing all of that activity, it means by the time they get to the real world, they're going to be very, very efficient at it. So all of this is very exciting for 2024 and of course 2025 and beyond. And interestingly enough, when Jensen says that eventually all cars are going to have autonomous software and hardware in them, he's absolutely right. I think from watching videos and stuff that Nvidia thinks it might have a way of catching up with Tesla, but at the very least, Tesla is a massive customer of Nvidia. They buy all of their training compute from them and everything. So I think for now, Nvidia is very happy to have Tesla be a very good customer of theirs. He said that automotive is the largest vertical, and I think that Tesla is probably the biggest part of automotive for sure. But the problem for the future of Nvidia is that Tesla manufactures their own chips and Nvidia wants their Jetson Thor in everything, in all this embodied AI. So I think eventually they're going to come to somewhat of loggerheads. So the deal will be whether Tesla can get out in front enough and then license their hardware and software at a good enough rate that everybody will just do it and ignore Nvidia. If Tesla doesn't do this, they'll become much more like the iPhone, like Apple's iPhone, to Android, and Nvidia will become the sort of Google whatever. It's hardware in addition to software, but I think they'll become much more like Google's Android to Apple's iPhone. So hopefully Tesla is smart enough to realize this could be coming, and by the time they get full self-driving working well, they will license it at very good terms to as many companies as possible, because if they don't, Nvidia is going to be nipping at their heels very, very soon. In terms of actual humanoid robots and stuff, clearly Nvidia is playing the field and they're doing very much the Android to iPhone because Tesla's got Optimus and that's their, so that's what they got. They got their iPhone version of things. It's one and it's proprietary, and Nvidia is like, we'll put our chips and our software into everything, build your bots and come to us. So clearly Jensen and Elon have a huge amount of respect for each other, and 2024 is indeed the year for embodied AI. It's the breakout year, but sometime in the future, probably not 2024, but 2025 or 2026 or something like that, we are going to see autonomous driving and also autonomous humanoid robots become quite the battlefield between these two juggernauts of companies. All right, so those are my thoughts, my opinions on things. Definitely let me know what you think in the comments. While you're down there, if you don't mind liking and subscribing, it really does help out the channel. Thank you so much. And finally, a big thanks once again to Delete Me for sponsoring today's video. Be sure to check out my link in the description to get 20% off any consumer data protection plan, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye.